Many important and powerful messages being given there from the G20 stage. Mr. S Gurumurthy, editor of Tughlaq, joins us live from Chennai. Mr. Gurumurthy, couldn't have been a better occasion when the Prime Minister of Bharat is introduced to the world yet again. Not that he needs any introduction.
It's a matter of great pride for all of us. And there could not have been a better and a greater occasion than the G20 meet to proclaim the civilizational identity of Bharat as an ancient nation. I think the Prime Minister did it with precision, beauty, and the sanctity it needed.
What kind of a message do you think it sends to people who sneer at the idea of cultural reclamation, that this is not just Bharat, but Bharat, which is the presidency of G20? It is literally at, not just at the table, but at the head of the table. And now it says, I am reclaiming my culture as well.
See, the world has now shifted to a civilizational paradigm. A country like China, which wanted to destroy its past civilization and carried on a cultural revolution, declared in 2021 that they are reclaiming their 5,000-year civilizational identity, not for handling the present problems, but the future. We have such a noble culture, noble civilization, noble value systems to project before the world, that we have not only the right, but even the duty to do so. Because the world needs peace and harmony, for which philosophical ingredients are reared in India for 5,000 years.
When the PM was speaking today, when he opened the G20 summit, he said that when we speak of inclusion in the G20, it embodies the message of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas. Is this the internationalizing of a political slogan, or is this also a cultural slogan that was used perhaps politically for the last 9 years?
You see, India has been politically very badly distorted and divided in the last 100 years. And that was not corrected post 1947 because of the partition hangover. What Modi has done is to completely forget the 20th century and go to the 19th century. On the 9/11/1893, what Swami Vivekananda told the world, and said that this world needs peace and harmony and move away from hate and bloodshed. This is rooted in the ancient civilizational values of India, and the entire effort of Modi is to reconnect to that Vivekananda spirit. So there is nothing political about it. This is civilizational, this is cultural, this is spiritual.
And when we speak of Indian culture, what an interesting mix of people to talk about Bharat as well, from Joe Biden, who has got Kamala Harris as his vice president, to Rishi Sunak, who is now very proud to say that I am a practicing Hindu. He's even said yesterday that I'm going to make up for not being able to celebrate Janmashtami. To Praveen Jagannath, the Prime Minister of Mauritius, who also has Indian ancestry. In a way symbolizes the whole idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India or Bharat has its roots or its traces everywhere around the world.
You see, India not only spoke of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, but also practiced it. 5,000 years back, a literature could say that somebody is mine and somebody is a different person is of a low value, narrow-mindedness. That the whole world is one family is the attitude of the broad-minded. 5,000 years back, a civilization thought like this is manifested in what happened later. We never said no to anyone who came to India. According to Professor Rammel, who studied mass violence for 2,500 years all over the world, where human beings slaughtered human beings, found that till the 13th century, there was no human slaughter in India of any mass scale. How did this happen? Was it just an accident? It is not an accident. In 2.5% of the land area, we have 18% of world's population, 30% of world's cattle population, 8% of birds and mammals. And how did this great coexistence take place? Is it an accident? No, there is a philosophy, there is a way of life, there is an attitude. How do this 30% world cattle population live in India when we have 2/3 of our population who are non-vegetarians? It is because non-vegetarians in India also are kind to the animals. They don't eat meat on certain days. They eat meat only as a sabji, and they have cereals as their main food. Cereal as main food and meat as a sabji has meant this. This is a fantastic finding made by ourworlddata.com, which says if the Indian food habit is adopted by the whole world, we will need only 40% of the agricultural land we use today. This is the environment compatibility of the Indian civilization. This did not happen overnight. This happened by a system of preaching, practicing, and cultivating and assimilating people into this.
Let me finally ask
But we never told the world all this.
Let me finally ask you, Mr. Gurumurthy, what are your expectations from G20? Because everyone is looking at it from their own prism. Someone wants to see only economic statements. Some are looking at it as India's assertion of being not just a rising superpower, but as having arrived. Some others are looking at, making a cultural statement. What do you want to see emphasized?
You see, G20 has become a very important platform now, because G7 has been, in a way, a limited role to play in the overall confused global situation. United Nations has been stymied. So, a kind of a platform which was evolved as part of globalization has become a very important platform today. This gives role to the middle powers, which have become important post-Ukraine. The rise of middle powers is a very important part of the democratization of the world order, which was totally West-centric. And so G20 is a platform in which there is a greater democratic participation today. This is an accidental development post-Ukraine, so that India is today in the head position. means that there is a philosophic input that can go into it, which will transcend the kind of baggage effect we have had since the World War II. There will be economics, but there will be culture also. There will be power rivalry. At the same time, there will be a longing for peace and harmony also. There will be an interplay of all these conflicting desires. And at this time that India is leading, it is very, very significant for India and the world.
Mr. S Gurumurthy, thank you very much for speaking to us. Two very important developments today. The bilaterals lined up also very important. We've got engagements with Mohammed bin Salman. We've got engagements with Japan, of course, with the UK. Very important development also of the inclusion of the African Union. What is the importance and why was India so keen for the African Union to be included?